All right, we got a 2006 Chrysler here, right? 3.5. It's got, I think, 120,000 miles on it. Well, wouldn't start. And these are electrical nightmares on these cars, apparently. They have issues with the starter wires, the ignition switches. And my buddy that worked on it for his dad did some of the work. And anyhow, I was scanning it and was getting a reading for the key being in ignition, their new keys. He already changed the ignition switch back, the switch itself, a while ago. And I wasn't getting a I wasn't getting a start signal at first. See, comes on. I was getting an on position and hearing the relays tick, but I thought it was the inside part of this switch, which this part is really common on these to break right here. It's inside the cylinder, it goes inside the switch. When you turn the key, does that. That's not the problem with this one. If you are having this problem, make sure you are getting power to the pink wire with the teal stripe when the key is turned on, which I am here. So it's getting power from the computer and up to the fuse box, which I'll show you a way to bypass this if you ever have this problem. Like I said, sometimes it is the wires on the starter can be a problem with these, but I checked all that. I checked the starter, which is a pain in itself. So this is just a power probe, hook up power probe 4, I don't remember. Anyhow, you want to check the fuses, I guess, before this. Sometimes it can just be something simple. This fuse right here is a number 5. A 5 amp fuse right here. See how it's grounded? This fuse should have 12 volt on it when the key is on in the crank position. Like right now it's on the on position. When you hold it to start it, it should have 12 volts. You can also jump the solenoid here to test the starter wires from here to the starter. This is a signal wire. And the problem is, I was getting power certain ways I pushed on this and messed with it. I was getting some power, but it just wouldn't crank. Here's a way around it. If you feed power to this fuse, this is a power probe. When I press up, it feeds power from the battery. Down will feed it ground. So it's the same as just using a jump wire from, like, if you run a jumper wire from this is the battery positive to the correct lead on this 5 amp fuse here. Anyhow, if you run power to it, fires right up. I was thinking it might have been in this computer here, or this FCM module, not switching. Because they said I was getting power, sometimes it just wouldn't crank over. That's why originally I thought it might have been the switch, the ignition switch. So did get a new one of the bottom part of the ignition switch, swapped all that out, and was still having the same problems. And I will get a video if I want to swap that, take that back apart, put it back together. So what I found was, and if you jump the solenoid like that, don't freak out. You just shut it off the same way with the key. Well, the key is not put where it's supposed to be right now, but see, Just shut it off. Make sure the theft detection box is on there and plugged in and all that. But while I was back probing and checking wires, this fuse box is neat. It folds up on a hinge. It's just all unhooked right now. I don't know how good I'm going to be able to show this. Out of everybody I've seen have problems with these cars, electrical problems on not starting, I've never seen a video on this car of anybody actually having the wire corrode. This is the pink wire with the teal stripe coming from the starter switch. It has 12 volt power when the key's on. Goes in there, it melted the prong pretty good. Could pull it out, repin it, and get a new fuse box, all that. I can't really get the pin out because it's corroded and melted. So I think I'm just going to strip this, find a clean spot, and another thing, it's going to be a little short to get it back in there without undoing this whole loom here, and just tie into it and use a inline fuse jumper in the fuse box on the top side and feed power to it, which will work for now. It was still hooked up just a tiny little bit, I guess. Like I said, even after, you know, back probing the wires, checking the power, the feed power wire on the ignition switch down there, checking the supply signal wire when the switch is on, kind of drove me a little crazy yesterday. But that is the problem right there. If your ignition switch is still good and it's not starting, your wires are not corroded down on the starter, and it's still not starting, off the ignition switch, check this wire plug right here. It is, this wire here goes to that 5 amp fuse I was showing you how to jump it. All right, I'm gonna try to get this cleaned up and get it out of here. Back for the guy, because it's like an extra car, but it's been down for a little while, and it's only got 120,000 miles on it. It's actually still a pretty clean car. Let me get some stuff and we'll get to going on it. Okay, before you go pulling on them wires and fuse boxes to unplug them, I would unhook the ground. Make sure it's tucked away so it doesn't arc out. It doesn't hopefully throw any codes or anything from arcing out. All right, let's try and wiggle as much as we can in there. Slight noise. Oh man, I thought that was longer now. Dang it. All right, I'm going to extend that quite a bit. Okay, moment of truth. Let's see what happens. I might have to flip that around the other side, and I will clean that up a tad bit. Let's see what happens when we put a little bit of power to it. All right. Just normal car stuff. Lights do look a little dim though. Clickety clack clack boomer, bang bang. Alrighty then, moment of truce. Wah, wah, wah. Maybe I'm feeding the wrong side. All right. I tied into the pink wire with the teal stripe on the harness going down into the plug that feeds this 5 amp fuse, sorry. Can't see it because I got this here. I'm feeding the left side of it, which is what the wire feeds from the bottom. It comes from the ignition switch through a 5 amp fuse into the right side, which triggers it. Let's try this. Battery, the lights are looking a little dim. I might have to charge it again. But she's been sitting for a while. 7-8 months, I guess. I don't know. Something like that. All right. What about now? Oh yeah. Cool. I think we got her. I think we got her licked. Hey, like I said, that pink wire, it's pink with a teal stripe, is in this plug. Can you see? I think the red wire with the white stripe is the constant power. I'd have to check the diagrams again though. Anyhow, this pink wire with the teal stripe, when the key is on the crank position, is supposed to have 12 volts up to that fuse box. That's where the problem was. Okay, let's swap this out real quick. All right, this Phillips screw on the side of this box here, and then that is the theft ring reader thing, groomer bobber. All right, to get this cable out a certain way this key is, it will pop out like so. This cable is what puts, it's like the safety for the gear selector, and that's it. Bam. Okay, there is several ways that you can take these ignitions apart on a Chrysler 300. I've discovered to get to this cylinder. This one doesn't need it, but I'm gonna swap out this new one, put the old one back in it since it doesn't need it. Anyhow, I figured I'd show it. Okay. The easiest way I've found to get to that cylinder without fighting these clips right here is take out these two screws without dropping the screwdriver. Take out this one. Take out this one. And then this one. Then a little bit of wiggling. It will come out. This will go in two different ways also. Like it'll fit 180 out in this part, but not in this part. And if you need to take this one and get this one out, See this little pin right here? Turn the key a certain way, and it's not the right way. You turn the key a certain way, and it loosens it, and then you can just pop it out like so. See? And just put it back in. Okay, like I said, this one's brand new. Ignition switch actuator. That's the part number. Through Dorman. That's the ignition switch. Part number through Dorman. Okay. Now, like I said, put this back in here. You want to make sure that, see these little knobs? These face the biggest span part goes down like so. Then that part fits down inside this ignition like that. So you want it like this. So when it goes in here, it's going to line up just like so. Just like that, right? So you leave this out. It will take a little bit of wiggling and finessing to line up this pin and get everything down in there just right. Make sure this is seated flush. Don't try to force it with the screws or anything. And that way when this drops in there, make sure it's lining up. Let's see, I think I got it. I think I put it 180 out. Yep, see? That's how not to do it. Oh, you gotta make sure it's clicked in the run position. That's what it was, so yeah. See? Boom, 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 boom. Booyah. Alright, so that's key off. That's on. That's run. So, should be good. Like that. We'll just gotta put the screws back in, then put it back in the car. And like I said, it is common that these go bad. They'll get wallowed out in there. And it's common that this will break off like right here and then not turn the switch on these cars. Apparently, but this car had none of that. I was just pretty much going down the rabbit hole. And it turned out to be that wire going into that fuse box. Nice and snug. That should work. Okay, now this can be a pain too. So, you see? This is the theft ring thing, or bobber. It only goes on one way, clicks in there, and then it has a Phillips screw, the only Phillips screw in it, that bolts it down to the other switch on the top here. So you want to make sure it's lined up, put this Phillips screw in, tighten it or snug it down. Okay, this is the gear selector override cable. It plugs in the back here, in the middle here, which a certain way the key is on, it won't go in. If they made that wire just a little bit longer, this would be so much easier. Plug in the ignition switch. it's hooked up. I can see it moving, so it should be good. Right? Cool. Okay, now you gotta feed this back through here around a bunch of wires and metal. And it's got 3 studs. That go in there like so. I think somebody might have snotched that bottom one out already. It wasn't me. And then just snug them on down. Nothing crazy. Excuse me, guys. A little bit of room here. And then the lock cap. I think it's outside the car. Let's find all the little plastic pieces. Yeah, I think that does go on top. So. Slide this past everything without gouging up the dash. Click, click, boom. Don't forget to plug in the trunk button. That might ruin somebody's day if that didn't work. Okay, and then there's 2 Phillips screws. One in the side over here. They're Phillips and 8mm, I believe. One goes there. It's also got push clips that hold it. There. This trim piece up here, I think, right? I don't remember. Put this one in first. And then the side molding board piece thing. It must go on first. Alright, come on. Get out the way. Like so. And then this piece goes on the side. Like this, though. All right, no extra screws. Cool. That's a plus, right? All right, there's my tie-in wire. I am gonna wire tie it a little bit, clean it up a little bit better. But the GoPro battery's at 10%. Run! All right, let's see what happens, boys and girls. Come on, really? It's cranking though, so that's a plus, right? Yeah. Yeah. What? It was kind of a little bit of a pain. Like I thought it was that ignition system, but sometimes don't overlook the simple stuff, I guess. I don't know. Sometimes I go for the easy stuff, and it's the hard stuff, and I go for the hard stuff, and it's the easy stuff. So, just check voltages and grounds. Hopefully this helps somebody. Thanks for watching, guys.